joining me today is American record holder, NCAA champion, SEC champion, ISL swimmer, and a bunch of other things that are too long to mention. Maddy Banic. Maddy, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Um, so you are an exceptional butterflyer, and you are currently swimming with Energy Standard in the ISL, right?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. And I mean, let's just give folks a reference. By exceptional, like I said, American record holder in the 50 short course meters fly, and you are consistently up there with all the big names, notably Sarah Soystrom. When it's a 50-100 fly at ISL, your name is pretty much always up there. So you're quick. And so I guess let's start with ISL since we've been talking about that. The playoffs are coming up. You leave when, this Sunday?
Yes, I leave Sunday.
Maddy, what are your goals going into playoffs?
So I would say for me, my goals right now are to just be better than I performed during the regular season. I didn't have a great training base behind me going into the regular season, which was in Italy during the month of August, September. Yeah. So it's August into September. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I forgot there how long I've been home for. Yeah, I didn't have a great training base. I kind of come off of trials and, I feel like everyone was so focused and doubled down on swimming, prepping for the Olympic trials that, when I came back, I wanted a break. I didn't take a super long break. But even when I was getting back in the water training, I wasn't necessarily training how I needed to be. I wasn't really taking care of myself out of the water. I was traveling and seeing friends and, just having fun, kind of letting myself have fun after being so serious for so long before trials. So I went into Italy a little out of shape and not necessarily where I needed to be to swim my best. So these past 5 weeks since I've been back prep playoffs, I've been, really doubling down on my swimming, doing what I need to be doing, what I know works for me. And so I'm starting to feel a lot better in the water, a lot more in shape. So my goal is to just, have a better performance than I did during the regular season and, get as many points for my team as we can. I think we have a good shot of being able to win this year. And I think it's going to be a lot closer meet than it has in past years. Semis and then going into finals if we make finals. So I'm really excited to see what we're able to do.
When you make finals.
When we make finals, yeah.
Okay, so you hit on a lot of things that I want to unpackage. I guess first of all, how you said you were out of shape, but I mean, you guys were all still going really fast. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. How is it that all you guys seem to go just so fast, day in, day out, every meet? It's a big meet, but just there's like a dozen big meets and you're doing well at all of them.
Yeah. So, I think it's funny you say you were still going fast because that's something I've had to remind myself. Because I'm someone who really looks at my times and, once I have going into ISL last year, or even the first year was mainly for me. I was just like, oh my gosh, look at me. I'm around all these people who are incredible swimmers, world champions, Olympic champions. And I was kind of just fangirling the entire meet, to be honest. And then the next year, I think it helped me a lot. I only did half of season 1, but I think it helped me a lot to kind of come to terms with okay, I'm going to be surrounded by all these people I've looked up to my entire swimming career. And now I have to compete with them. But I was still more of kind of like a puppy dog almost, oh my gosh, I'm getting to race next to these people and race with these people. And anytime I would beat someone, it would like blow my mind, honestly, that like I was able to beat, someone like Renomi or Sarah. And then I went into it this year, and I was a lot harder on myself, I think, especially in the regular season. Like I knew my times weren't where I wanted them to be. And I think I kind of expected, which I shouldn't have because I wasn't training correctly, but I think just in my mind, the like fairy tale of it was, oh, maybe like I'll keep building on last year and be able to beat some people that I've wanted to beat since I started doing ISL. And so I kind of went into it, and I would get like, honestly, like furious with myself when I would get like third or fourth to, like Sarah or Renomi or someone. And I would have people like, I remember your Fike swim post you posted when I got third, and you were like, she got third to the 2 fastest women in the world. And I was like, holy crap, I have to remember that like these are the 2 fastest women ever in this event. Like it's okay that I got third. And like I'm the type of person who's always going to still be like itching for that, like I like want to beat these people. I want to be the best. I want to be at their level. But I kind of had to go like I had to like kind of pull myself back and be like, you're still swimming fast. You're not swimming exactly how you want, but you're still, you're not swimming poorly, and you need to be like proud of that, I guess. So I would say like a big part of like being able to swim fast during like that many times is the recovery, like one of the like big things that I feel like as you get older in the sport is you have to like really start focusing on the recovery. Like you're not a club swimmer who can do like $8,000 of practice and like be fine and, eat whatever you want and, go play all day with your friends and then go to some practice. Like you have to take care of yourself afterwards. So, warming up, warming down, seeing massage therapists, doing stuff with the physiotherapists, compression, eating right, hydrating, sleeping enough, like that is all plays like a crucial part in being able to do those back-to-back swim meets,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, even just like, for me, like you get the adrenaline. I think the adrenaline also plays a huge part in being able to swim that fast, at those type of meets. Cause at least for like the Americans, like it's a lot like college dual meets, but like on steroids because everyone is so fast and there's so many lights and fog and production. Like that's the best way for me to describe it. It's like a college dual meet on steroids. So I personally am like a very environment focused swimmer. Like I pull a lot of energy from what's around me. And so for me, like even though you might be tired and it might be like the 4th meet you've had in a week, like the 4th day of racing you've had in a week, like, whenever you step into that environment and you're surrounded by people who are all working toward this common goal, like it's a lot easier to go fast than if it's just like your 4th repeat hard day during a training week of practice,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So 5 weeks of hard taper. Now you're hard training.
Not taper.
Yeah. Now you are going to taper for playoffs.
Yeah, we're doing a bit of so I can't like fully taper because playoffs is technically a month. We're not really sure what's happening with finals yet, but we think it's going to be tacked on to the end. I haven't been told yet. So I'm thinking 5 weeks. It's going to be like a 4-month semi and then, or a 4-week semi and then maybe a finals like the week after. That's like my best guess right now, 'cause I'm not sure.
Wow.
But yeah, so we had like 4.5 weeks of like really good hard training. I'm really happy with the work we've put in. And then this week has tapered down a little bit, more intensity than anything, just kind of relaxing on the intensity, or the intensity we are doing is more like very short, high end. And it's not just like constant holding it.
Right.
So coming down a little bit there. And then once I get to Eindhoven with energy standard, it'll drop a lot. A lot of those practices with energy are very short, like 2,000 to 3,000 max. I don't think I hit 3,000 once while I was in Italy. And they're mainly like while we were in Italy, we had some hard ones because we had a bye week, so we had some time to train, but we won't have time to really like train this time.
Right.
So it's kind of like a gradual descend this week for me, and then I'll get there 3 days, I think, before we race. So those 3 days will be pretty easy, maybe a touch of like high end speed. And then we'll get into racing.
Wow.
Yeah. And then hopefully I just sort of naturally taper over the course of the 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, I mean that is a really difficult thing to do. Essentially, kind of taper for 5 weeks, in because you don't want to wreck yourself, but you also can't just like hop in, get wet, hop out for 5 weeks. I mean it's a difficult balancing act.
Yeah, it definitely is. But even with like the way we did it in Budapest the second year, like I would consider the 6 weeks we were there was kind of like a 6 week taper for me. You know, besides the days we were racing, like everything was very chill in the water. There might be a couple like sprint throw-ins here and there, but like nothing like I was training back at home before we left. And I think especially for sprinters, you know, like having a meet every 4 to 5 days, that's 2 days long. Like that's not like necessarily, at least for me, too much different than what I would do here. You know, like I have two like very hard, I would say, intense, like mentally challenging practices a week, which would be my 2 race days while we're in Eindhoven. And then the rest of them are like still touching on speed and still difficult, but not, you know, not at the same level. So I don't necessarily think it will like, it's like hard. It's hard to explain. It's not really like a taper we're used to where you're like getting ready for that one race you're going to do. But it also like won't be as grinding as, you know, training every single day. So there'll be a little bit of rest in there, I would say.
Well, cool.
More aerobic focus.
Now, you touched on Olympic trials and how not just you, but everybody was kind of a little bit off after the Olympic trials, the Olympics, and it was, you know, you had to get back into that mode again of racing. For you at the Olympic trials, we don't need to talk too much about it. I mean, it wasn't your best meet, right? It wasn't what you'd hoped for. And because going into it, I mean, you were flying. I mean, literally, like you were American record holder and all these things, and it didn't go very well. It didn't go the way you wanted. But what did you learn from it? What did you take away that has affected how you're approaching your training now, the sport now, and over the next few years heading to 2024?
That's a great question. It's definitely made me think a lot. And like complete like transparency here. I kind of went into trials like not excited for trials. I've never
Really?
like been a big long course swimmer, and I've never really enjoyed training it, and I've never enjoyed racing it. It's just
You and me both.
yeah, you know, it's something where like I just, you know, I can get like, especially short courts, like I can get excited to go in and like do, you know, a power focused practice. Like it's like my coach always told, like this is something that's, I say it all the time, my coach has always told me is like, my body is like a Ferrari. Like some people are race cars and Ferraris, and some people are trucks. You know, you just trucks can just put in the work, you grind them to the dirt, they can go day in and day out, do whatever. A Ferrari, like you got to put the right gas in it, you got to tune it up. Like when it's time to go fast, it can go fast, but it can't do it for very long.
Right.
And that's kind of like that's kind of like the, I guess, ideology I go into with my training. And I would consider myself very good at short course. I love short course yards. I love short course meters. It's something I feel like I can really excel in. And long course is just something where it's been like, granted, I have gone to best time, but my short course times do not compare to my long course. And it's always been a very frustrating thing for me, and something I've like continuously worked on especially leading up to trials, like the years leading up to trials was something that I was like, I can improve on this. Like there's something like obviously tangible there that I can improve. And I did drop a little bit of time, but not like, it still wasn't like a relevant time in my mind, I guess. And so for me, I guess after like going into trials, like I wasn't very psyched to be there. And, you know, like that's not really a meet you can go into like not excited for.
Right.
So that like that mental component definitely didn't help. I tried to like let myself like feel that and like, you know, notice that I was having that thought, but not let it like control my emotions or my actions while I was there, you know?
Yeah.
Like acknowledge the thought, but then try to get into the right mindset. And you know, I tried my best at that. But yeah, it definitely wasn't the mean I wanted. And, you know, it's really made me like have to put some thought into what the rest of my long course career is going to look like. So that's actually something I'm thinking about and talking with my coach right now is like, I don't know my road to 2024 yet, if there will be one, or if I'm going to, you know, stick solely to ISL and short course, or, you know, if I do still have like that flame in me that wants to like still improve in long course. Cause like, I know I'm not as good as I could be, but it's more of a question of like, am I willing to, you know, do something I don't necessarily enjoy to improve?
Right.
Or if I rather just stick to what I like. So I don't know. There's,
Right.
you know, a lot of different thoughts going on in my head right now. So I don't really have an answer for you yet, but I guess we'll find out.
Here's a thought. What if at the next long course meet, you took a fog and laser machine with you and
That's it. That's what I need.
set it up by the blocks, and then you could have your own little like
There
show.
you go. My own little ISL. Yeah. We'll just put one of those like fake walls in the middle too. And we'll just make it ISL.
Now, I mean, that is, I didn't know that about you, that you were, you know, kind of thinking that way. And I think it's very interesting. It's a very mature, you know, thought process because, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even think that way for anyone at your level. Like, how could you not consider the Olympics? But I mean, that's reasonable. You know, you got to be happy with what you do. I mean, that's number one, because if you're not happy with long course and you're doing long course, it's going to affect how everything else goes. And so I think that's a really interesting point. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like if you love this sport and you want to keep doing it and you have another outlet where like ISL, I mean, like, why not?
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
something that never crossed my mind, actually.
Yeah. And that's like the great thing with ISL is like, you know, in past years, like your options to keep swimming were to like train for the Olympics. Like that's what pro swimming was. And now like, you know, for people like me who might not necessarily be good at long course or enjoy long course, like now we have another road to go down, which, you know, like most people choose to do both, like long course and short course meters. But, you know, this kind of gives an option to people that if they want to like keep pro swimming, they don't have to be doing long course. Like they can do short course meters and, you know, still make a living off of it and still create a name for themselves. So that's kind of, I mean, to me, that's exciting and kind of takes some of the pressure off of like, if I decide to go down that route, like it's not the end of the world. Like there is a means and like a way of doing it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. Like my times short course do not convert long course. Like, I mean, I was beating, it was really frustrating. Because going into the summer this year, I was going time short course that, you know, should have converted and qualified me for Olympic trials and didn't. And I was beating kids who, in short course, who then beat me and qualified for trials in long course. And I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And I mean, if you figure out long course, please
I'll
help me.
let you know. I'll let you know.
But anyway, um, okay, so how, like specifically with your training, I know you said, before Olympic trials, it was kind of a blur when we were talking earlier. And so you don't recall, a whole lot of the specific training that went into that.
Mhm.
But going forward, I think the other day you had mentioned that like you're training right now, you're doing at least three times a week, power, resistance
Oh
kind
yeah.
of training,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, so right now what it looks like, which we started this cycle after Italy, because before Italy I was, just kind of doing like long, like 4,000 to 5,000 yard, like almost just aerobic, basic like conditioning practices, which is fine for some people. That's what most people do, but not for
Right,
me. It doesn't go
right,
well for
right.
me. Yeah, and so when I came back, we decided to kind of double down on things we knew worked for me, which was mainly power. So I would say my practices now range between, on average, I would say between like a 2,500 and a 3,500. I probably get one 4,000 plus in a week.
Hmm.
And that's usually when we're with the college team. So right now, our pro group is sometimes on our own and sometimes with the college team. I actually train a lot more by myself now because
Oh, really?
our college team is huge this year. We have a lot of swimmers. So it's there's actually not enough
And
room.
sorry, you still train with University of Tennessee through the Tennessee Elite Group, right?
Yes, sorry. I should have
Yeah.
clarified. Yeah, at the University of Tennessee, they have a big college team this year. So, for me to do my own practices that aren't what the college team is doing is very hard when the college team is there because there's frankly not enough room. So a lot of times I'm coming in to do my own thing, and some of our other pro swimmers either also do that, and we all have like a pro practice, or they'll just join the college team. It kind of depends on the day and what each individual swimmer needs.
Yeah.
Um, but I swim a lot on my own these days. But on Monday afternoons and Tuesday afternoons and usually Friday afternoons, I would say, is very power focused, like resisted power.
Hmm.
So Monday and Fridays, I usually do a rack, and Mondays will be an underwater set on a rack.
Hmm.
You sometimes there's some swimming thrown in there, but it's usually, kind of heavy with ascending and descending intervals. So we'll do like maybe like 3 rounds of 8 racks, and it'll be like one on 40, one on 30, one on 20, one on 20, one on 30, one on 40, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And for me, it just kind of mimics how the end of a race feels. So obviously when you get down to the 20-second ones, like by the time you get back to the wall, you have like maybe 5 seconds to get your breath and you got to do another one.
Right.
So just that lack of oxygen and CO2 buildup kind of mimics what the last wall is going to feel. And then you have the weight on you, obviously. So you have to really, stay toned and um, like focus your breathing, or lack of breathing, I guess, like focus your mind, I guess. And I really like it. I think it's a good challenge and, puts you in a relevant situation as it would be in a race.
Right.
And then Tuesdays, I use the X1 Pro from GMX7. It's that pulley system that goes along the lane line. I use that we do all sorts of things on that. We'll do an underwaters on that. We'll do actual swimming on it. We'll do, 50s of swimming on it, descending. And then that's kind of the resisted I'll do on that on Tuesdays. And then Fridays is usually another rack set, which is more swimming based and more like really heavy with more rest focused. So those are my three like big, I would say, resistance days. And usually Wednesdays do not feel great in the water because I've just done 2 days of resistance and a lift.
Right. Right. Yeah, I bet. And
Yeah.
how many days do you lift?
So right now I lift 3. Um, I do a lower body lift on Monday afternoon, sometimes Tuesday afternoons, depending on how I'm feeling on a Monday afternoon. That usually switches out. And then Fridays, I do an upper body lift. And then Saturdays, I guess it's kind of a lift. I do cleans in it, but it's more of an explosive lift for me, I would say. So more with jumping and chords and, med ball movements. I wouldn't really call it a lift. It's more of like a dry land, like explosive moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Like plyometric stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it sounds like so much of what you do is strength, power, speed, just over and over and over again. There's really not much of the, I don't know, 10 200s, kind of
No. Definitely not. No.
kind of stuff. Which, I mean, I think that's great because that's the kind of training that I do. But I don't know, I'm a bit older than you are. And I've noticed that all can really take a toll on your body, and it can get you in a hole real quick, and break you down. So you mentioned the recovery earlier. Is that the biggest way that you manage, like with the rolling and the massaging and all of that, manage that pain, I guess?
Yeah, I would say so. There's also like Monday and Tuesdays are usually my back-to-back like difficult like power days because there's also a lift in there. So Wednesday,
Yeah.
I also like work it into my practices. So Wednesday morning is usually only an hour, and it's very butterfly like technique focused. Like usually it's just one-on-one with me and my coach, and we don't do much yardage at all. If we get to 2000, that would be impressive. But it's like, it's still very focused, and I feel like I learn the most out of that practice than I do any practice a week.
Yeah.
Even though it is the easiest one of the week.
Right.
But that kind of gives me a chance to recover, or an extra bit of recovery from Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday afternoons is usually a hard fly practice. That's like my big fly practice of the week. And then Thursdays is another like just floating day. I literally call it a float day. So it's very chill. It's usually long course actually, because the college team trains long course. Yeah, I know. The college team trains long course on Thursdays, but it's a very like just chill aerobic day for me. Keeping my heart rate at 140, 150, maybe spiking it a few times, but nothing crazy. And then Thursdays, I always go and get a massage. So Thursdays are all about recovering for me. So then Friday, when we come back, I can do a heavy, another power practice. And then Saturdays is usually a big kick set. So, just like going to the chiropractor, getting a massage, seeing my massage therapist, rolling every day before practice, stretching at home while I'm here. Like it's, getting enough sleep, eating the right things, hydrating enough. Like it's all things that I feel like when I'm not doing it, I can really feel a difference.
Personally. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm glad you brought that up because, like, as you know, a couple years ago, I started on my own journey to like swim different and change how I do things. And even though I'm obviously nowhere near your level, I still train like a pro swimmer. And it is remarkable the level of monotony that goes into a day in the life, and like how much all the upkeep that you've been talking about. I mean, that is so tedious and monotonous, and it just like mentally it grinds on you. And I mean, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but like there's so many days where I'm like, oh God, I just want to sit on the couch. I really don't want to foam roll.
Oh no, I totally get that.
And I think that's, I mean, maybe more than the physical, like that's what makes what you do at a pro level so difficult. I mean, you you have to be so regimented and still, like, you can't just say, oh, I don't feel like it. Like, you still have to do it.
Yeah.
And oh, I don't know, that it's tough. I over the last couple of years, I've developed like even so much more respect for what y'all do as pro swimmers, because it's been hard for me. Did you say massaging twice a week?
No, just once.
Oh, okay.
I could go
And
twice though. I'm very close with my massage therapist. She's great. She's awesome.
now, are we talking like the gentle fluff and buff, or like the elbow into
No,
the
it's so painful every time. It's something I like look forward to, but also don't look forward to.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody hears that and they're like, oh, it must be nice. The life of a pro swimmer, you get to go have a massage every week. Man, those things are painful.
They are. You are sweating too. When they're done, you're like in tears.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's
And they keep saying breathe, breathe, and you're like, I'm trying.
My whole sport is not breathing. You can't expect me to breathe now.
Because this whole vlog is like, for me anyway, it's all about inspiring people to swim different and give them ideas for ways they can change things up. You swam in college for Tennessee, and you're still with Tennessee, which is also remarkable, because so many swimmers end up, kind of moving around, trying things out. Um, how has it always been a focus on power and speed for you, or was it very different when you were swimming in college and you had to be a teammate?
Yeah, no, it was actually quite different in college. So my first 2 years of college, I actually trained under the assistant coach Lance Asti, because at that point we were still a combined program. Yes, we were a combined program. So everyone swam together, men and women. So the way we split into groups were like a sprint group, IM group, distance group, what have you. So I was
Yeah.
always with this in the sprint group, and Lance Asti was in charge of the sprint group. So my first 2 years of college were very, very sprint focused. I wouldn't say as much as it is now. But I came from a club team where we just grinded out yardage. It was like 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 of practice.
Right.
I'd never used, like, I'd used fins before, but we didn't use kickboards. We didn't use snorkels. We would use
Wow.
paddle and buoys, but like we didn't have parachutes or buckets or racks or, any of that stuff.
Right.
So my freshman year was probably arguably one of my better years of swimming in college. And I really think it's because my body went from, not having any sort of power. We didn't even lift. We did like dry land stuff, but like there were no weights involved. And I put on like 15 pounds of muscle my freshman year. Like my body just loved it, ate it right up. I went from like not using any sort of resistance in any way to like just this full blown power, like socks, chutes, like racks, towers, lifting in the weight room. And I think it really helped my swimming. And that's kind of my focus was freshman year. And then sophomore year, it was a similar level of training. But I was having some more like mental issues, like mental health issues outside of the water. So that takes a toll on your physical self and like your swimming.
Right.
So my swimming wasn't as good that year. And then the year after that, we actually we were a combined program, but we split our training times between men and women. So I started training under Matt, who's my coach right now. Matt Credit, she's the head coach.
Right.
And junior year was hard for me. I had left, to work on my mental health.
Right.
And I came back and, I had a lot of relationships to rebuild and had to get back in shape for swimming. So again, a lot of things outside of the water that were impacting how I was swimming in the water. But, at that year, I was just grateful to be back in the water. I wasn't really worried about results or anything. So I was just grateful to be back. And then my senior year was, still sprint-y focused, but honestly, everything we did in college was like, the way college swimming works is you kind of have to like write a practice for the whole group.
Right.
And what I have learned since I've been out of college is I am not an average sprinter. I wish I was, because then maybe I could do a 200. But I am a like die hard like sprinter. Like
Yeah.
I need rest. I
Right.
need not as much yardage. Like even like a 4,000 is like a lot for me. Like I'm exhausted when I'm done with a 4,000.
Yeah.
And that's like very normal in like a college sprint program. Like 4 to 5 to 6,000 is still like considered sprinting yardage.
Right.
Um, and I need that power side of it. And just, like things like that. And not many people on my team did. There were maybe like 2 people that I truly believe that along with me could have benefited from what I'm like, how I'm now swimming. And so even though my coach was, and Matt's always great. If you feel like you need to modify something, he's always very open to that. So I was modifying it in the best way I could, but still, I think I was just honestly overtraining. And I was the type of person, which I still am. I've gotten better at it, but I still am the type of person who, I want to grind. I just want to stick my head down and
Right.
want to try as hard as I can on everything. It may not look like it, because I may still be in the back of the lane because I can't like keep up with these people who are like naturally able to just grind for a 5,000.
Right.
But in my head and like my body, like my heart rate, my effort levels, like I'm like trying as hard as I can all the time. Like I want to keep up with people. I want to beat people. And I was like that in college. I was a captain my senior year, so I felt like I kind of had a duty to, be that example to people, even though, I might not be able to keep up with people the whole practice. Like I wanted to be able to, like be at the front of the lane or, be, beating a set or something like that.
Right.
And honestly, it just really grinded me down. The best way to describe it is I had like dug myself into a hole during the year, and then taper wasn't long enough for me to be able to come back out of it.
Right.
Like I only got like halfway back up the hole. So by the time we got to SECs and NCAAs, like I wasn't swimming well. I had swam faster when I was a freshman, when I was a sophomore. Like I was just tired. And I didn't have enough time to like pull myself out of it. And so that trend honestly kind of continued through my first few years of pro swimming. And then when quarantine hit and we were all forced to just stop, everyone stop for a second, take a breather, let your body rest. And when I came back from quarantine, we found that I wasn't necessarily out of shape, which I shouldn't have been because I was training, but swimming shape even.
Right.
Like my strokes felt great. They looked great. I was still able to sprint. Granted, it wasn't like super, super fast, but it wasn't what it should have looked like for 3 months off, I would
Right.
say. And it didn't feel like I had 3 months off. And my coach and I kind of started going down this road of like, well, maybe you've been doing too much. Maybe you've been
Right.
trying too hard. You've been swimming too much yardage. Maybe you need just like shorter stuff. So we started, doing the shorter practices, doing more power. One of the big things I started like switching in my mind when I was swimming was, okay, when it says to go fast, and not like kind of fast, like we're going fast.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't say to go fast, we're not going fast. We are going to chill. You're going to be, just like literally I try to get my heart rate at 140, 150, unless it says fast. If it says
Right.
fast, then I am going as fast as possible as I can. And I feel like a lot of my college career was everything just being at a very like mediocre, like, oh, this is like slow and
Right.
this is my fast instead of slow and fast.
Right. Right.
So when I kind of changed my training like that, like I felt like my body could recover better. I felt like I was hitting more relevant speeds and relevant times for racing. I wasn't training my body to be at like this fast when I was trying as hard as I can. I was training it to be this fast.
Right.
If that makes sense. So yeah, like, and that's something like, again, like Matt's always been very open with like trying anything. And even though I am still with him and I've done training with him that didn't necessarily work for me in the past, like it's been honestly an amazing journey to grow like with him as him, my like with him being my coach into this like, you know, different, completely different way of swimming than we did when he first, you know, got me as a freshman.
Yeah. And that's really awesome that you two have that relationship and have been able to kind of grow and adapt and change, because I think all too often it's like, well, let's just keep doing more of the same.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and I mean, you and I are like one and the same as far as swimming goes. Yeah. I mean, like my training now is also just totally chill or super, super
All out.
high
Yeah.
speed. Yeah. Um, and like looking back, you know, I was in the same boat at Texas where it was like, you know, you were supposed to grind because everyone was grinding, and you were part of this, you know, top team with all these Olympians and everything. And it was like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Mhm.
And you know, I think there are so many people in that boat where they go to college, and yeah, you know, the coach has to do what's best for the whole,
Mhm.
right? But what if you get somebody like a Maddy Banic or a James Fike who that just doesn't work, right?
Mhm.
And at least you know, I'm grateful that I'm figuring this out now. Um, and you know, it's great that you're figuring this out now. I am curious, how long do you taper for? Because like in college, for us it was pretty typical, like 2 to 3 weeks,
Mhm.
depending on who you were. And now I'm discovering like I need this not just 6 week period, but like 2 6 week periods where I rest. And
Yeah.
is like, have you grown your taper?
Honestly, I can't give you a great answer for that. It's still something I'm kind of trying to figure out. I know my college taper never really worked great. Probably the best taper I did have was my sophomore year when I got a concussion like 3 weeks before SECs. And I was out of the water for like a week right before SECs. And I don't really, I don't, I'm kind of scared to try that again, but
I
it is
know,
something I
yeah.
think about regularly. Um, but I don't know, like leading, like I said, leading up to Hungary last year, like that was kind of just a 6 week long, like race taper, I guess. And then obviously my taper didn't work great for trials. So I don't really, I, that won't do that again. That was kind of like a long, like 3 week taper. So I don't know. I honestly am still trying to find my perfect taper. I don't know yet.
Mm.
You know, I don't think I've ever hit taper on the nose. Like people always say, that they just hit their perfect taper. I've never done
Yeah.
that. I've yet to do it, and I am looking forward to the day that I do it, but we're still experimenting with that and what that might look like.
Well, I feel like I have figured it out. And that I'm scared to ever say that, because taper is this like mystical, you know, weird thing that gets built up in our heads as we grow up, that it's like this magic window, and it's open for a very small amount of time, and you have to
Mhm.
slit you have to get through it before it closes. And at least for me, what I'm finding is that no, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And you actually have a pretty big amount of time, a big window to get through. And my whole mantra is, it's so easy to overtrain. It is incredibly difficult to overrest.
Mhm.
And so if I'm ever in doubt, it's always rest more, do less. Maddy, thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, your journey, we could spend a couple hours talking about your journey through college and the health issues that you had and your bounce back and how well you've done. It's so inspiring, especially for me. I find it incredible what you've accomplished. And if anybody out there isn't familiar with her journey, you can go look at it. It's real simple. Just Google swam Maddy Banic or 33 meters. You'll find the story that we did on Maddy. It's really it's just it's awesome. So go check that out. Also check out Maddy Banic's signature suit. So she is a Fike Swim ambassador. And as with all of our ambassadors, she has her own suit that she designed. Her signature is literally on the suit. And her suits are super cool. That's like this lightning kind of thing and comes in all kinds of colors. Really cool. Go check that out. And Maddy, best of luck with ISL playoffs. I'm sure you'll do awesome. We'll be rooting for you, and best of luck with the rest of your swimming.
Oh, thank you very much, and thanks for having me on.
Take care, Maddy.
You too.